Welcome back. It's MNM versus Dusty. In the game you were talking...
It's a very small Prime League cast that's been sitting in this chair.
Okay, we're all sorted. As you were saying.
MNM versus Dusty. So this is another game that if Dusty are comfortable with the early game, if this is a good day for Dusty, and especially if like Viking gets the perfect early game, this could turn into Dusty.
Yes. Now, we did talk about the... Sorry, I really didn't set this chair up well. But yeah...
we need assistance?
I think we're okay.
Okay.
I think we're all good. But yeah, I think that this is the kind of game where, you know, like we talked about the Nariki game being very early game centric. I feel like every MNM game becomes that because they've been so good at it. It's not that they're bad at mid and late game. It's just that every team that's gone up against them has to survive the early onslaught because it doesn't matter what comes after that. They're really good at getting leads.
And honestly, I think Dusty as well, on paper as a team with the players they have shown better, a better skill set than what we've seen in our league. So I'm really hopeful for the potential of them individuals as well. But then you take it into the grand scheme of things as a team. And Dusty's macro has just really baffled me sometimes in the mid game. They've just made the wrong decision. I think we saw that last week as well, where they had a super solid early game against Nariki, which is the game we described, and they completely allowed for Nariki to come back into that game as well because they started taking the wrong skirmishes instead of just keeping their Drake stacking going with the composition they had.
And credit to Trouble, who kind of brought this up in one of the... I'm trying to remember if it's in the group. When we talked about it, where I think the way that she described it was, Dusty are over-rotating. They're over-forcing because it feels like this is what we should be doing. We should be rotating without actually having kind of like the poise to pull it off in the correct way. It's not always the wrong decision, but sometimes it's just way too out-thought, and that makes it a bit clunky.
Now, what champion should we be on the lookout before we jump into the champion select? Do you guys have any idea how this team could actually adapt?
Hecarim's actually been a big pick for both of these junglers, and it's been huge for MNM's mid jungle. It's allowed them to do so much. I would expect that to actually be a first round ban unless it's going to be a first pick, because Dusty have played it too. It's present on both teams.
Yeah, and I think just in general as well, we'll probably still have the same kind of AD bans that we've had, or the Twisted Fate ban to come through as well. Royal Cannon always has his action banned against him as well. So, I mean, we got something that we know about. We got something, interesting with a Lulu ban as well. Could mean that you want to put some focus on the Thresh and then just don't have an Enchanter for the other hyper carry, but
these are two of the highest, like, level 1 to 3 to 6 pressure mid laners that will get you priority and fight really well. They can actually skirmish. Now, in terms of the mid lane meta for this season in general, not so many skirmishing mids. We've seen a lot of Rise priority kind of come up in the LEC. A couple of teams there, BDS, GT, have been trying to get their mid laners out onto the map a bit more. But a lot of teams are still sticking to the Corki, still sticking to the Victor. And the Corki is currently unbanned and is now completely unbanned.
Because of these target bans that's coming through, this draft is just completely overloaded. Like, you got the likes of Hecarim that came through, which is not really a meta, but something these teams are contesting. But Twisted Fate, Caitlyn, Lux, Thresh, Thresh Aphelios, Thresh Jinx. I mean, taking away Thresh here wouldn't be a bad option since there's no Enchanter on the other side. Obviously, there's still a lot of Enchanters, but there's no Lulu.
Is Zeri enabled today?
Yeah, see, I was actually thinking the same, and I
was thinking I needed more info.
Don't ask questions. We don't have an answer for them here. Now you just threw both of us under the bus.
As a Yuumi being picked, that's a good combo for that champion. Now, I don't have a Telestrator here to jump up and explain all of that
either
stuff.
way.
It wouldn't work. No, it wouldn't. But you're looking at this Yuumi, and I mean, you can look towards something like an Ezreal. You can look towards that Zeri if it's available.
I mean, going Yuumi Ezreal just kind of says that you don't want to play bot lane and you want to play towards the top side. And I actually think red side is heavily dominated during this meta, just because like the emphasis on solo laners when Corki is no longer a thing, the emphasis of having the ability to play around your laners and rotate the map around them just really broadens up your possibilities of stacking Drakes early as well. Because AD carries, they need a few items before they come online. And if one of your enemy top laners is ahead, then it becomes really difficult to play around.
I was not expecting this Jhin. I'll be honest, I was not expecting this because now you can pick into the Thresh and bring something like an Aphelios or even a Jinx, and you have an amazing bot lane for MNM, and you can pile, you can do something.
Yeah, the thing about the Jhin is that it does give you a lot stronger laning phase than a lot of the counterparts of Yuumi because you're so caster-based, because you're harder to zone off a CS of a lot of things. And what it does in the late game, which we saw particularly around Worlds last year with the Zillion Jhin pick is that it basically allows your 4th shot when you get into the mid game to become harass. It's not just an execute, it's I have such move speed that I'm always going to get them 4th shot onto a target which I want to and be able to get out as well. This forces the issue though, because when you do start positioning more aggressively, Rakan can cut you off at the pass.
So the thing is here, right? So I thought to myself as well, surely they're going to have to pick the Jinx here, because against the Jhin, you just get free scaling. Like this Jinx is not going to have any issues against the Yuumi and Jhin, so you're effectively forfeiting the early game down in the bottom lane. Now, the one thing that can change that, if you decide to say, all right, we'll take a backline dive in jungler here in 3, like the likes of Jarvan instead, into their mobile AD carry, where, thank you, into the mobile AD carry, where Rakan really doesn't have a way of stopping you unless he times the W perfectly. So there's a lot of, pressure on Dr. Chaos to make sure his AD carry stays safe.
But so far, this is an excellent champion select from MNM. They're getting everything they want. I do believe I would see Dusty banning Vex to take away that power away from the Royal Cannon, or else you give another option to go to the back line.
So I have to say, Backland hasn't had the most stellar split so far, but looking at this Jarvan versus Hecarim, that's a real doorway into becoming very powerful in this game, because one of the things I always bring up with Hecarim when it's picked early is that Hecarim loses most 2v2s in the game until you get ultimate. Not really that proficient at fighting, because you've got the Jarvan in there already, one of the best people at fighting early. You pick someone who's similarly strong in lane. LeBlanc's already gone, I understand that, but if you have another one in the pocket, there's a chance for Dusty to blow up in the mid jungle.
That's the thing, right? But it's also just a different dynamic between the two junglers. The power farm of Hecarim is going to be way faster than Jarvan, so for the side of Hecarim, you're only looking to jungle track in the early game, not really match the ganks. And for the side of Jarvan, you're really looking to find that lane where you can find a leeway into the game. Now, from the side of Dusty, there's still so many picks available for them. You can see they're taking away top laners on the side of MNM, and I honestly think Dusty here, they should pick their mid laner. You blind pick one of these control mages that's super good at taking off pressure.
Strong early mid.
Exactly. You can even take Twisted Fate. That's still an option that's available for you, and you can try and run around with this pick potential. The only downside to that is then you're really going to be lacking in the damage department. So I think control mage on 4, try and get counter pick on 5.
But lest we forget rather, what happened on R5 last time Dusty were playing versus Noeki. They had the Aatrox in the back pocket. Now, Ilif is a guy that's played mostly tanks, played a lot of that Ornn. You can see why that's gone away there. But if you pick something, which that'd be great to see, I've not cast that in a very long time.
Not gonna happen though, yeah.
It's probably not going to happen, but if you do have a non-interactive top laner, something that's a bit more tanky, a Gragas or a Sion or whatever, the Aatrox can come out, and that could be really impactful here with the UV to stick onto it again.
This is already a good stylistic, because now you have 2 backlining champions, or backline diving champions in the Jarvan, and in the Vex, you have the Jhin that's as a facilitator for your team, and you have Yuumi that can just jump on top whoever she wants right now. So there's obviously not a lot of peel right now from the side of MNM, but they also have their own backline dive already, and they would be able to create space. I think Syndra would be a great champion here.
It's good anti-dive,
the scatter of the week. I don't think we're seeing enough Syndra really that could come in, because she has good matchups into most control mages in lane.
And one of the things about Syndra is that she tends to lose front to back when you're against like an Orianna and they have the Jinx, right? But you have the Jinx yourself this time. So if you end up doing the QR to get minimum 4 balls on the ground, get the scatter of the week, someone like a Jarvan jumps into you, the whole team gets stunned behind them. Great at kind of buying you that extra 2 or 3 seconds with that stun, and allows the Jinx to pop off.
Yeah, so I was debating as well, would you blind pick as a top laner here moving into it? Because I was kind of thinking to myself, maybe you take Camille to kind of match the stylistic of jumping in together with the Hecarim or on the side lane here, but blind picking a champion is never fun on blue, and it's also why I think there's so much power once again on the red side right now currently, because you are building these compositions where you're trying to form a clear identity, and as a blue side, when you have to blind pick, sometimes you can't always
have to compromise
with the winning lanes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It worked on the previous game. Oh, and it's actually going to happen again. Oh, so you're fancying this one as well?
No, I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about its extra backline disruption. It means that even as the Jinx is there, Jinx is probably going to have to be putting the dancing shoes on playing Dance Dance Revolution, because Aatrox is going to be slamming some Qs in their face.
I will say though, this is a matchup that can become explosive. If you get one kill on Renekton early, he actually takes over the matchup. So it is one that quite often is favored a little bit into Aatrox, but make no mistake, like you can easily rush Grievous Wounds on the side of Renekton, try and come in with Hecarim on 6.
Skill matchup actually.
And yeah, exactly. So it's not as clear-cut counter pick as it could be, for example.
So this is a pressure from the junglers to the top side, probably at the beginning of the game.
It's win lane, win game. Let's go.
I think for the side of MNM, you peel your AD carry, you have tools to do it, you dive in with the backline when you're looking for resets. On the side of Dusty though, I think it's a little bit easier to play, because everyone wants to run in except for the Jhin, who gets to still do damage in the backline, where it's a bit more difficult from the Jinx. You'll have to have perfect kiting when they're jumping into you.
So first champion select is already done. Let's start week 5, day 1, with the first game with Trouble and Initialize.
Thank you so much, Archeram, Nymera, and of course, Goldborg. Kana gets Hecarim.
That was the first. Kana gets
pick.
Hecarim.
That's what I was looking
And I think the second most important thing is that throughout the entire picks and bans, Corki, just nobody wanted Corki, man. So he's not nerfed yet, man. Pick him.
That suggests either neither of the teams want to play or they think the other team has something
Although
really spicy
I'm
played
really
up.
happy
Yeah.
there's no Corki, honestly, because we
completely
get spicier games, especially in the early game. So
Absolutely true. And, you know, Kana, this guy has been putting up incredible numbers on the Hecarim, and Viking, such a pivotal member for the side of Dusty on that Jarvan with the Yuumi, with the whole hit the R button, dive in kind of comp. He's going to be the tip of the spear there. And I think we've both been chatting during that Champion Select saying, I feel those two players can be pretty pivotal here in this matchup.
yeah, I think especially because of the champions they have picked, they're the ones that are going to be having the pick potential, diving into the enemy team, trying to find the backline. And honestly, I think it has been the case for both sides. Like for Dusty, it has been Viking that have been living or dying by Viking's sword. If he does well, the team does well. If he doesn't, Dusty loses. And if you look on MNM's side, even though they're a little bit more consistent on how they win the game and they don't necessarily rely on to only one player, I think that Kana, together paired up with Royal Canin, have been very instrumental on their wins, making these early game moves and the early game ganks work for them.
They really, really have. And I have actually got a couple stats for that one, just to sort of like set that scene for this game.
Let's
Of course I do. Just because you mentioned him already, like Kana has been second in the league in terms of the number of kills he's getting in a game on average for junglers. He's like third highest in the GPM. He's the second highest in far as kill participation for junglers. I think he's just behind Haru of all people, which is pretty heady company. So that's what you get when you're looking at this jungler who's on his kind of most famous champion here. And that kind of consistency, that kind of danger that this duo brings is going to have to be something that Backland and Viking are ready and willing to deal with.
Right, so thank you for the stats.
You're welcome.
Let's dive onto what's on our screen right now, because both junglers are starting bot side of the map. They're going to find themselves towards the top side of the map. Now, the top side matchup, to me, it's the most volatile of all of them, because they're both bruisers, they're both fighters, they both want to get into the mid game unscathed, but if you disrupt this type of top lane, these champions will take a while to get back into the game. And even though I think that Aatrox scales better into the later stages of the game due to his self-sustain and everything, and finding the way into his backline much easier, for Renekton it's not the same case. He spikes in the mid game, and unless you get really far ahead than we have seen, like we have seen with Keks, it gets really rough. So all eyes towards the top side of the map. From what we can see right here, Viking, it's much faster on his clear. He's already cleared his 4th camp of the game, and he's going to be most likely the one to go towards the top side of the map.
Mishigu and Dr. Chaos, to your point, also just got the shove in bot lane, went up into the jungle, put a ward down on the blue and Grom, and have spotted those camps are gone. So Babista and the rest of MNM will know, especially after that Renekton gets a lovely little trade on the top side, that Viking will be around that top end of the map.
See, that's the thing right here. Babista has built up a pretty hefty wave up the top side with a cannon minion. That would be the perfect diving opportunity. But Kana is not there, and even if he was, you see that Viking has taken the path from bot to top to try and mirror Kana on his endeavors towards the top side of the map, so that A-Leaf can actually farm in peace towards the top side. Obviously, these trades that he's taken against Renekton, they do not necessarily favor him at all, but obviously starting shield, he's going to be able to lifesteal a bounce back and get some HP back. And honestly, playing under his tower where he is right now, he should be more than fine.
Feeling very happy indeed. You saw the little warning ping over on the red buff about 20 seconds ago saying, yeah, maybe don't go for this dive because Viking's likely up and around there. Instead, Kana just hanging around this mid lane, seeing whether there's anything to be found there, but he will also reset having claimed that topside Scuttle Crab, and bottom side Scuttle still up and available for both junglers should they wish to go down there.
Okay, I like what Backland did there, because obviously they knew that Kana was mid lane, that the ward spotted him in the top lane brush. Royal kind of needed his jungler around so he can shove the wave really quickly. He was very low on mana. You need to shove that. You need a jungler there for assistance and some safety net. But Backland knew that the Hecarim would be back in this bush, took a chance and actually stopped Kana's back.
Brilliant.
Now this is a domino effect because Viking was able to get into the back line and possibly get the flash off of Royal Cannon. This is really good stuff, and it all comes from Backland interrupting Canna's back.
And you could see had to flash away before the passive landed from Backland as well. The knockup comes through from Viking.
Oh,
You don't
he's
want to
coming for the repeat.
He's coming straight back around. So Viking. All of his aggressive early ganks is such a pleasure to watch on things like the Rek'Sai, now the Jarvan, and that's just unfortunate timing for Royal Cannon. Went to put the ward down as Viking was already behind that mid lane wall.
And we put the scope on the two junglers, right? Obviously for Canna, we're looking at the level 6 mostly, being able to engage and reach onto the backline, trying to find these targets for yourself. Whilst Viking on the Jarvan, this champion is quite known for his early game ganks, and even though Viking has been trying to find a few openings, the only thing that he's able to find so far is a flash onto Royal Cannon. Now you see how even the bot lane, we have Dr. Chaos, he's roaming up towards the top side of the map, and that's due to what Golbok said prior. It's like, Jinx is fine playing against the Jhin and the Yuumi. She's not gonna die, she's gonna be pretty safe to farm the lane, and due to Royal Cannon missing his flash right now, it is very dangerous for him to shove in the wave. Even though he does win on the trades versus the Vex, he can't overextend because he's missing the flash and he's missing the teleport. So really good cover from the side of MNM in the early game to cover the mid lane until he gets the flash back.
Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Of course, now the backland has hit level 6. Royal Cannon does need to be even more aware because one more good gank is a very easy follow-up from that Vex with the Shadow Surge, but thus far has been protected very well by MNM, and we'll try and hold on probably a couple more minutes before any more of that drama starts kicking off. And been a quiet early game thus far, which probably favors MNM waiting for that level 6 on their jungler in particular.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think the level 6 onto Hecarim is a very important spell to have because you can also reach the backline. It's not the same situation too much with Viking, especially if you look at champions like Rakan, like Renekton, where even if you lock them down, they can jump back out, and then the rest of the members also have flashes available to them, except, of course, Royal Cannon. So as long as they keep Royal Cannon safe in the mid lane, which is what they're doing exactly. If we look on the minimap as well, you look at the top side, there's a control ward in Vikings jungle. You look at the bot side, there's also a control ward on the bot side river. So Royal Cannon is pretty safe from all sides.
All right.
Safe and spotted.
There's that spot, and it's been a little bit of this in the early game. Wards have been the aim of the game, keeping track of where these junglers are and aren't, and not quite led to any bloodshed as yet. It really is just that single flash that's been casualty of this early game, and Backland will be gifted over this second blue buff after going back for that last auto.
Calculated, 1 HP.
No, you have to say, I was like a little bit nervous there, but it's fine. I've been there before as a jungler, and it's the worst feeling.
All right, so I think because everything has slowed down as well and everyone's waiting for their opportunities, this does favor, obviously, Royal Cannon because he's waiting for his flash to be back up and available. And we're talking a lot about this mid lane because this is the only thing that's happened so far. Viking was able to take the flash, hasn't been able to put down a repeat gank because of amazing vision from the side of MNM deep into Vikings jungle. Now, let's mention here, because we mentioned that the first round robin is over, actually it's not yet, because Dusty have not played MNM on the first round robin. So this is the first time these two teams will meet. And let me give you a history. The expectations for both of these teams coming into the NLC, very, very, very low. Dusty have been consistently finding themselves at the bottom of the table every single time, and MNM have been relegated and climbed back into the NLC a couple of times. So technically, you don't expect much from these teams. You're going to be like, they might be, gatekeeping the bot side, but Kana might fancy himself an engage here. They're out.
They are, and just as the Herald spawns as well, and both of these teams looking to kind of write a new narrative
it's just
here.
as I say that things have calmed down, right?
Literally, I know. And
it's like, wait, I want to put in some narrative in? Let's fight. Let's fight, yeah. Yeah, that's the one. Let's fight.
Absolutely, and you can see that Herald being started up by Dusty. Of course, that's a Renekton with Dominus available. Could get a little bit risky here.
Okay, so we've been talking about Dusty over-rotating every single time. This is a pretty good rotation from the side of Dusty because they need to snowball the early game lead a little bit. Dusty's composition, even though it's all in and in your face, it's lacking a little bit of consistent damage. Jhin is not an attack speed ADC down the bot lane. Vex doesn't scale that well into the very late game. And if she pops you and you kill her, then she doesn't have continuous damage. And then the Aatrox is going to be the only consistent damage that you get into the backline, but his melee and can be kited very easily. If you look on the other side of MNM, you've got Hecarim, Syndra, and Jinx, who scale pretty well into the late game. So I really like the fact that Dusty moved the entire team towards the top side of the map to try and secure that Rift Herald, whilst Venza is still up ahead in the bot lane. And why does this happen? Why do you think Venza is still ahead in the bot lane, even though they have been playing, you know, from a safe distance? Is because Michigu has been playing alone, because Dr. Chaos had to cover for Royal Cannon until his flash was back up. So that play, that one flash that Viking was able to withdraw away from Royal Cannon, actually allowed them to roam the map, take the Rift Herald, go back to the lanes. Nothing's happened. They haven't lost much.
Absolutely not. They do lose the 2 place because, of course, Michigu did not rotate up towards that Herald, and that is often the trade you see when that Herald is started, and get a little bit back from being alone and all that solo XP, of course, but, you know, down that 5-10 CS once those waves clear up is exactly that advantage you were kind of talking about. And now it's time to see what Dusty can get done with this early Herald. They've got the opportunities here with the level 6 and stuff available to try and break something open.
I honestly love what's happening with Vision. I think both of these teams have realized that the 2 playmakers in the teams are Viking and Kana, and the wards deep in the jungle have been given and taking the entire game. A-Leaf leaving his top lane, going deep into the blue buff ward in there. You see, oh, MNM?
Okay, that's pretty deep. Kana's going to go very low. It's straight to the Shadow Surge, and first blood comes through. Dr. Chaos with around and trying to turn it around. The Super Mega Death Rocket is flashed away from, but the Unleashed Power secures Viking in trade as a 1-for-1. Both junglers deleted there.
Wow, Kana did not even have time to breathe. Never mind pressing his R button. I think this is the power of harder gauge comp in the early game. Viking goes in, backline. Yeah, Dr. Chaos, that's a little bit dangerous right there, but you see the power of Vex in the early game. You jump in with your fear, no one can move, they change their CC really nicely here. And again, you see Kana does have the ultimate to get out, but because they have Dr. Chaos there, it's like, okay, we got this one, level 6, a Rakan right there, but the second he jumps in, a wild Vex appears on your screen, Yordles are superior, Viking ends up going down, Royal Cannon will also press his R button, which hurts extremely much, and they're just gonna trade 1-for-1, which means none of these 2 teams can actually fall down to take the first dragon. And this is gonna be an extremely late, if you will, first dragon.
It is. I'm not sure that either team's still feeling comfortable to do it. That vision control on the river, which has been
they're going
such
topside.
a big fight over, has indeed been a problem. They're going to head towards top lane instead. Babista left alone here in a 2. Make that 3v1. Will slice and dice away. Here comes Dr. Chaos, though. Of course, he's roaming again to try and support and cover his lanes. Gonna drop the Herald here and try and secure a couple more plates, and should be able to do so relatively freely. Wait for it. There comes the charge, secured, and 4 plates going over to the side of this Aatrox. Kana has taken this dragon in trade.
Oh, they want to fight
look how much
Yumi's there.
healing there is. Babista has to flash out of the infernal chains, and that might even cost them the entire first tower now.
Honestly, I want to give props to Dr. Chaos because he has been reading the map really easily and trying to help whichever lane is in trouble of being ganked. But right there, they overstepped the welcome. FGG had also read the play, had also made his way up top, and had it been a couple more seconds, that book would have been up and available for the Yuumi, and it could have meant trouble for the side of MNM. They're gonna take a couple of summoners, but Venza now has been left alone in the bot lane. No cat.
Gonna get charged back. Does take a Super Mega Death Rocket alongside the onslaught of Shadows. Flash forward from Michigu, trying to secure the kill.
Takes
That
a while.
comes through, does get that one. But now you got to remember, there's already been a teleport that's come through. But wait, I think it got cancelled, and Kana will be killed off. Now the route on by the Flame Jumpers might get Michigu out of it. He's gonna take a couple tower shots for his trouble. Looking for the Blast Cone, does come over. Dr. Chaos running down here, looking to try and trade this one out. The final chapter coming through, and Jinx is put to bed.
Veg for the Jinx right there. And it's a 2 for 2.
Died.
These
Of course, yeah.
These are 2 teams that have been going toe-to-toe. I mean...
Oh dear. Yeah,
Backland.
that's a very dead Vex.
Back, mate. Mate, you don't TP in the middle of the... It's fine. It's a 2 for 2, all in all. But these are two teams that, in general, if they take an advantage, we mentioned it, they take it in the early game. It's all up to their junglers. And you've seen how Kana is impacting the map. You see how Viking is impacting the map. 100% kill participation for the sort of Viking on that Jarvan. A very active early game jungler in the hands of Viking that's doing wonders. At the end of the day, they managed to grab these 2 kills. They've managed to take the top lane tower, but the dragon went to the side of MNM. So all in all, the trades have been pretty even all over the place.
And in fairness to Dusty, when we said, look, we want this mid jungle to be competitive, Viking has absolutely managed that right now. It's into that Hecarim we called out as like, yo, first pick for this guy. He was so good at it.
And Trinity Force.
Yeah, Trinity Force Hecarim as well. That's not Divine Syndra, that's not Chemtag.
That's very bold.
I love it.
I'm just going to say that.
That's old school Hecarim. That's the way I like to play Hecarim, which isn't necessarily a good thing because I'm not very good at the game. But I appreciate this.
Okay, I'm a little bit on the fence just because of the fact that Dusty have more burst damage than they have continuous damage minus the Aatrox, especially with the Vex that's going to be running in. So if your Hecarim is too squishy and you take him out of the picture really quickly, then you've got a lot more way to get to the back line. So this is the only thing I'm worried about. But if Kana is able to run over the Jhin, then I think a trade jungler for the AD could be a pretty good trade.
Absolutely, and that is a choice.
Look at that. It's the Dusty rotation. Again, Herald is up. They're moving the entire team. They're warding the jungle. They're taking the Herald. It has been the Dusty move from day one. It's going to be a handoff, obviously, for the bot lane tower.
But they do it so smoothly. This is that vision control that wasn't necessarily there as cleanly in other weeks. Very well done. MNM don't feel they can test. They drop the second Herald very quickly. Maybe we'll see a bit of an engage as in goes Viking. That's pretty deep. Does get the root. Aleph gets so much damage and Kana has to onslaught of shadows over the wall. Gets pulled back the infernal chains. Gets hit indeed as Backland comes through with a shadow surge. Fourth bullet does go wide, but they get 2 kills. They get the Herald charge, and Dusty looking alive in this mid-game. Shadow Surge hits again, but that's actually a lot of damage, and Backland takes quite a lot there, but won't quite fall down. And of course, still between 2 turrets. Finally secure that mid lane, and Dusty pull off a pretty severe play in the mid lane.
Again, that early game is on the side of Dusty. Look at all the mythics that have been completed. Double gold drinker. You've got the Everfrost on the Vex as well. Vex really hurts with that burst, and I feel like Backland played this to perfection as well. Whenever we look at the replay, you will see how perfectly the members from Dusty played it. They were very patient. They were waiting until the perfect timing, and MNM are starting to fall behind, because even though your Syndra has been farming on the bottom of the map, she took a tower, she wasn't there to defend you. And honestly, the Trinity Force might come to bite Kana on the bottom, because he's way too squishy, he went down way too fast, and he didn't provide what he's meant to provide for his team, which is frontline.
We'll see how it goes as the game goes on. He gets a lot of damage there, though, so maybe beginning to trade it back. They managed to get a big pick off onto Backland's Vex. Aleph now coming into the back end of this fight, but still waiting on the world ender as Vendor just gets deleted there out of nowhere as Dr. Chaos gets in on top of him. Get that mid lane tier 1. Aleph backing away, maybe think about getting this dragon. And MNM punch right back in the mid lane. It's a 2-0 for them this time around.
Yeah, and there is one thing that is very scary to play against if you're a Jarvan, and that's any type of flay ability that will push you back when you want to flag and drag in. The only champion that has this from the side of MNM is Royal Cannon's Syndra. So the second that the Syndra enters the fight and plays too far forward, Viking cannot necessarily leap to try and get anything in the backline. Now, Backland here, he doesn't have a flash. I don't think Dusty wanted to engage either. I will say might have been a little bit of miscommunication. Venture also doesn't flash, and he ends up burning from the Ignite by taking too many autos, which he could have avoided if he flashed, but we have more action because Aleph is almost dead.
Aleph is nearly dead, but he stays alive for now. But look at Babista heading forward, trying to get the kill. They can't quite get it with the Cull, the Meek. Royal Cannon, though, looking for a flash scout of the week, can't quite land it! Super Mega Death Rocket not quite enough to finish off Aleph as well. Aatrox plus Yuumi, just enough healing to keep themselves alive there, and somehow, some way, nobody is dead after that series of big damage hits.
Yeah, Royal Cannon is a big thorn for Dusty right now, because he's not allowing anyone to step forward. Backland tried, he got deleted. Aleph tried, he almost got deleted. So the second you get too close to that Syndra, it's big trouble for you. And Royal Canin is staying about. Venzer has the flash and he has the cleanse. Okay.
Yeah, misses the scout of the week, so we'll be able to walk away with having to burn any summoners, and feeling just about all right about that one. But yes, our eyes have got to be a little bit on that. Syndra will get a replay to see exactly what happened. Just big bot lane dive.
I mean, honestly, I feel like Dusty members are overextending at this point. We saw it with Buckland, we're seeing it with Alif right here. This portion of the jungle does not belong to you. It does not belong to Dusty. You cannot overextend that far to push out a wave. You need to wait underneath your tower to try and shove it from there, because the entirety of MNM is hiding in Fog of War. Now, of course, Royal Canin flashed for that Q, because Michigo also had the Jinx ult, so it could have been a pretty spectacular double kill right there. It didn't land. All in all, not much happened, but you see again, if MNM pull the trigger and Royal Canin is in the front line, Dusty cannot necessarily do too much, but I believe if Dusty find their target, which is Royal Canin's Syndra right now, and delete him instantly with the Vex Jarvan combo, it could be something to play off of.
Elif just coming out of that play going calculated, because that was a sliver of HP he got out of there with. And you know, you get out without the kills. They've got Royal Canin's flash, as he was looking to be aggressive with that. And you're right, he is a pretty juicy looking target, especially because of how immobile he is and how deep Dusty can go to try and get in between the Jarvan, the Yuumi, the Vex, all being able to just run at that Syndra. And unless she lands the mother of all scout of the weeks, it's pretty killable.
And the more the game goes on, the more this Yuumi is going to start healing through all of these damage. So the second you think a target is dead, Yuumi's going to jump on it, he's going to start healing, he's going to stun you in place. Yuumi's going to be an absolute nuisance to the side of MNM, just because they don't have that very easy access for the carries in the backline. Syndra wants to play the front to back. Renekton needs to find the perfect flank to reach the backline. The only ones who can go in is the Hecarim and the Rakan, but these two are just not enough damage to get the job done. So, name of the game for MNM is getting picks on the map, but Viking is looking for a blood.
Maybe they're going to try and go for the picks themselves. That's a lot of damage, but Vista doesn't get as much done as they would like, as that's a fleeing Dr. Chaos. Venza has to flash away, but going to get taken out. And that now leaves the Yuumi left out to dry. Double kill for Mishigu, who's going to try and run Dusty out of the jungle. They went a little bit over-eager there to get a hold of Dr. Chaos and Babista.
I'd like to watch this replay again, because that was a 4 versus 5 that Dusty lost right there. So Viking's gonna jump over the wall and try to get onto Babista, and the second that they get the Renekton ultimate, they think that they have what it takes to kill. But the Vex ult only hits the Rakan, and even though the Vex does get the reset, Venza gets caught between a rock and a hard place, and he flashes away from his team, which puts Yuumi in a really rough situation as well. So had he not flashed away from his team, but backwards towards his team, he could have potentially had a lot more peeling coming in from the Vex and the Jarvan.
A lot of burst coming out of the Hecarim there. Did about 2/3 of Venza's HP bar there, going over the wall.
That's Trinity Force for you,
yeah, that's Trinity Force. Yeah, it might be squishy, but you do actually do quite a lot of damage with it, it turns out. About 40 seconds to go until what will be Ocean Soul point for MNM, which will be their next point of pressure, I'm sure. And Dusty will want to try and stabilize after dropping a little bit there. Venza in particular, now without the flash himself, can also be a bit of a target for MNM to try and get their hands on.
I'd like to say that Dusty have been playing overall a pretty good game, because they have the engage and they have, you know, the trigger button to start a T-fight themselves. The only thing that's been really holding them back so far is them getting caught on a side lane, them overextending, them getting punished by MNM, because we mentioned it, MNM want to have this pick. Now, Alif, he has a very key position right here, and also Buckland is playing from the mid lane. If they can find Mishigu, but Mishigu's gonna find Alif, and MNM is gonna find Alif.
Oh, Alif had the flank until he was spotted out by that beautifully timed blue trinket. Gets a hold of that kill, and now down the man.
Yeah, you
Dusty just has to retreat. And
yep.
He's all well and gone. That's an easy dragon. It was a great flank until immediate blue trinket.
I mean, we talked about them overextending, we talked about them getting caught. Now, I'm gonna give it to Alif, because he snuck in the back really well. No one saw them getting there.
I'm with you.
But I feel like Mishigu, it was pretty clever for him to check there, because if they're gonna enter from the river, you need to know what's happening right and left of you, because there are a bunch of flanks open and available, especially when you don't have vision down. So MNM are playing a very, very, very clever game around vision. They're not overextending too much. They're playing within their boundaries. They're playing within what they can see. And honestly, at this point, they're gonna start outscaling as well. The Jinx can put more damage down than a Jhin. The Syndra will be able to put more and more consistent damage down than Buckland's Vex, who has also taken a more of a defensive approach. This Vex sort of works like a Lissandra at this point. You're jumping in, you're getting the multi-man CC, you lock them down with the Everfrost, and then you pop your stopwatch, your Hourglass. So you're staying in stasis and trying to soak all the damage while your carries do the damage themselves. But who are your carries that are gonna do this damage? Because Jhin is gonna be playing with his curtain call open, and then you're relying on Vikings Jarvan and Alif's Aatrox, who has not had the happiest times in this team fight so far. He's been getting caught out quite a lot. So I think Alif needs to find a way to get into the backside of the fight.
And in fairness, if you can combo, you know, your mid, jungle, top all together at the same time, you probably do have the burst to kill off the Syndra and the Jinx, but it needs to be more coordinated than it has been over the last 5 minutes or so. That's a couple fights in a row now where Dusty have been a little overeager, a little bit disjointed, just enough that MNM can pick apart the aspects and the people who aren't quite together enough. And do you want...
Okay.
What's in your mind, Rob?
There's an issue here, okay? I mean, MNM won the previous 4v5, but that was also Dusty overreaching and Vezin not being at the perfect position. Right here, Bobista is pushing the bottom side of the map without the teleport. At this point, Alif can very well match him because Alif does have teleport for himself. So Alif can stay bot lane, put pressure onto the bot side of the map, and MNM are realizing this. They're like, we're down a teleport, what can we do? They need to keep pressure onto the Baron. They have the Jinx, which is really good at killing Baron. They have the Hecarim and the Syndra also pretty good, and they need to get the teleport coming in.
So much damage and shut down that Syndra. This time they had the damage, but have they gone too deep? The counter engage is huge as Backland is taken out. Mid laner for mid laner, but now Hecarim is a long, long way away. They knock up Dr. Chaos, taking him pretty low, but he gets the battle dance away. Flash forward for Alif, but he can't quite secure it until just now, because of course the Prowling Projectile kills off the Rakan. Babista to the backside trying to get the kill, but the healing from Yuumi is just obscene. And this time they're together. This time they get a 3-for-1. It all goes towards Dusty this time.
Zoomings from the side of Dusty. They find the pick really quickly. What did we say? Alif has TP, but Bista does not. Alif managed to TP into the backline. He actually finds his way towards the Syndra and towards Misigu's Jinx. They force all summoners and they pick MNM apart with the combo, oh my god, of Viking and Buckland on the Jarvan and Vex. Now, of course, it's a 3 versus 5, but...
Gonna try. That's the fear from the doom and gloom! Beautiful stuff from Backland. They run away, they get picked off, and Dusty, having been on the back foot, just pick up another couple.
I don't understand, though, how Kana would be able to get into that pit in no way, shape, or form. Everyone's alive from the side of Dusty. You got a Jarvan that can knock you up, you got a Vex that can fear you, and you have no ult to get back in. So again, it's a very disjointed fight, but very well played. They find Royal Cannon. Remember, Royal Cannon has been the thorn on the side of MNM that stops them from winning these fights. Once Royal Cannon is out of the fight, Dusty is able to just rush forward and chase whatever target they want. Alif is able to slip into the backline now that Misigu doesn't have his summoners available, and you see how much healing that Yuumi can do. So even though, yes, MNM do not have the consistent damage output, they have so much tankiness and so much healing that if MNM don't pick 1 or 2 apart, I don't think they can match them on a 5-5.
And that was, you know, once Dr. Chaos died, the Putrefier went with him. That meant that suddenly there was no healing reduction around and about for MNM, and the healing of Yuumi and Aatrox just so difficult to get through at that point. About 30 seconds just shy, more like 20 now, until that Ocean Dragon spawns that would be an Ocean Soul for MNM.
Oh, but look at this. That is so clever from the side of MNM, but Bista needs to push the top side of the map.
That's the BMO. Literally the moment we talk about it.
Because Dusty needs to stop the soul from going down for MNM. So the Alif needs to stay bot side of the map. Dusty needs to stay bot side of the map. They need to secure that. No one can go join the top side of the map where Bobista is, because right now they need to be around the Dragon Pit. And the second they see backline, maybe top lane, they could potentially pull the trigger. But no, they're not going to do that. Mid lane has been pushed for Dusty very well. Alif has been pushing bot side very well as well. MNM is just going to throw their hands up. They're still on soul point and go for next one.
He's going to get that tower. He's going to be in the 2v1, but of course, Kana was pathing up there to just shield him. He gets 3 towers in a row.
So the only thing that so far Dusty gets out of this Baron is just they get to deny soul. for MNM. That's all they do. They just get to deny soul. They got nothing. If anything, they lost tier 2 top and inhibitor tower top. So rotations from MNM yet again on point.
So well done there, especially considering they just lost a couple plays, overextended, overfought really in difficult scenarios around that Baron pit a couple times in a row. Looked like Dusty had managed to secure themselves a pretty big advantage, and instead MNM just get back on the map, reset, restabilize, get 3 towers, get that inhibitor turret, and get right out with no losses. Great for them.
Now, obviously, they have a bunch of melees on the side of Dusty.
Yeah.
And the Jhin, if he walks way too far forward, there's a Syndra, there's a Renekton, there's a Hecarim, it gets really, really scary. But on the other side of the map, Aleaf has built up a double cannon wave, gets another tower. So that is the first tower that Dusty are able to take down. They equalize with what they lost versus MNM in that Baron play. And they will also, they will be able to get that mid lane tier 2. Now, MNM, they need to get a pick down, because if Dusty engages them in Fog of War, it is just so hard to keep themselves alive. Item check. 3, 4 stopwatches from the side of MNM. Every single one of them except Dr. Chaos have some sort of immunity, which leads me to believe that MNM feel like the next fight, possibly around the Dragon, could be the game-ending fight. If they can manage to stopwatch the Vex ultimate, this could be huge for them to turn a fight around.
And to make sure we keep track of what this game means, the last game of the round robin for these teams. MNM are 4-4. They are tied 4th with Riddle, with Veneer. Dusty, 1 game behind, are down in 7th. Out of playoffs at that point. They are 3-5. They win this game, they start being able to make sure that they can keep up with that middle of the pack. For MNM, they really, really want to get that additional win, because it's such a tight race here from being in playoffs, in that middle of the pack, in contention, and dropping right back down to the bottom of that pack.
Absolutely. This means a lot. Shadow Flame completed for Buckland. Any type of shielding is going to mean more damage for the side of Buckland. So we're looking for the next fight. Look at all the vision on the top side of the map. Full blue for the side of MNM. But if you look behind MNM, there's a bunch of words left for Aleaf and Buckland to be able to TP to and surprise engage members of MNM. Again, if they manage to get that Vex engaged together with Vikings Jarvan, it could be huge. 1 of 4 wards down, there's a bunch of them left, and Royal Cannon has been caught again.
They just jumped so far, and that's going to be the stopwatch coming through, buys some time. Holding on to that 4-shot, stays alive. Now Babistra off that side, looking to see whether he can find an angle. Dr. Chaos is around, tries to save the Syndra, just can't stay alive. There's no way, no how. Dive, 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 and Dusty pick up the kill.
That was beautifully done again. They see Royal Cannon on the wall that they placed, the control wall that they placed, and they pick him off again. Crucially, Royal Cannon loses his flash. This is going to be extremely crucial for the next fight, because if Viking finds him again, like he's been doing over and over and over and over, it's going to be big troubles.
5-1-7 for Viking. Still 100% kill participation for this squad.
We mentioned it. Dusty lives and dies by Viking sword, and in this particular case, spear?
Exactly.
Is that what he has?
Storm in game. Exactly. That spear's coming out, and he's going flag, drag, Cataclysm every single time, and we said it might get a bit difficult, but they sure as hell have found the damage. They find the combos, and they're making it work right now. It's still close. It's only 2,000 or so gold apart, and MNM still very much able to fight when they've got a soul available here.
Here's the fight. They need to fight over that mid lane wave, because both objectives are equally important. Baron coming up, and also that Dragon and Aleaf is stepping way too far forward. It's fine. Zoomies are going to kill him back up. But this is going to be Soul, an awesome Soul for MNM. You see how back and forth this fight?
Viking finds the monster Cataclysm, and it might be more like an apocalypse right now for MNM. But wait, look at Mishigu doing so much damage. But can he get through the healing? He's being flashed on so many shields, so many heals. Resurrecting his Babista. Mishigu can't quite do it. It's a double for Vendor on the side, and Dusty have done it. There is not enough healing reduction in the world to stop this one. They tie up the series. They'll go 4-5, joining MNM.
Viking does it again. He's his 5-member members and locks them all up in Mountain Jail, baby. No one gets to move, no one gets to breathe, no one gets to press a single summoner, and they only lose Buckland in the process. I think that was a very clean engage coming in from Dusty, and they're gonna also tie things up with MNM.
100% kill participation. He picks the Jarvan into Canna's Hecarim. He does it in place of a Corki pick, potentially, and he absolutely vindicates himself. What a game from the jungler of Dusty. What a game from Dusty in general. The cosplay's on point.
I don't think I'm doing it justice. It should be something like this, no? For Viking,
just
no?
pull it up, there you go.
Wait, did he kiss it as well?
I'd go for it.
Can you like... No, but all jokes aside, Viking and Buckland managed to break one of the strongest mid-jungle duos that we have in the NLC, which is Royal Canin and Canna. I think Viking played spectacularly, even though MNM tried to out-macro a bunch of times when it came to these team fights, and the Yumi scaled, and the heals came through, and everyone got too tanky. At the end of the day, you know, Dusty found the picks, and Viking found a fantastic last fight to end the game.
It really was, and don't get me wrong, it's a close game, but maybe I have to call it out. The only healing reduction was on the Rakan, who, if he's not being the proactive person, isn't going to be applying it necessarily the way you want it. Like, maybe an Executioner's calling on Jinx. I know it would have stalled something, but you just needed something. A Morello, exactly. And I wonder whether that might have hurt them there a little bit as well. But you know,
I don't know. I think Boris had a few things to say in this game, like the no healing reduction, the Trinity Force coming through as well instead of the more tanky build. But yeah.
There you have it. And of course, still got to stall here a little bit, waiting for word from production. But like, does give us a bit of space to talk about what this means, because it means both these teams end the round robin tied up. That is potentially a huge deal. The moment I say we've got time, we don't. It was all a teaser. Sorry, guys. We're cutting a break. See you soon.